Hello everyone, welcome back to a reading vlog, but it's gonna be a bit different. I'm in the middle of the jungle, of the Mexican jungle, and even if there are day in, day out wildlife and wild insects all around, it's still about being cautious where I'm walking, not to walk on any tarantula or scorpions, or even, last night I had two scorpions in the room. It would be actually very interesting to do a special TBR since it can be not necessarily creepy, but at night, and the jungle doesn't sleep, it always makes some sound. Why not going into all of my Kindle library and I have over 700 books, and I'm sure, I know, I'm going to find something to fuel, that vibe. And we came up with cozy until it's not. I'm going to take you along. So we're going to see where is it going to go. And I am so excited. Whew, to read something creepy. Not necessarily. It's not really my thing, but it's a perfect environment to do a reading like this and to share it with you. Okay, this is the inside of my Kindle huge library, and this is, as you can see, the TBR Cozy Until It's Not. So let's keep the left section. This is the most predominant one. I selected to go with 3 Laura Purcell's book, The Silent Companions, Bone China, and The Corset. Except, and as you can see, it's already read, even if it's partially written in French. It's because I already read, it's a reread, The Silent Companion. So that's why it said it's already written. But from Laura Purcell, I never got it around Bone China and The Corset. So I am very excited to go and discover how is it gonna be, knowing that it's most of the time always Gothic and horror, so creepy. And the last one from the left section is A House of Ghosts by W.C. Ryan. I think there is some kind of yes, paranormal, but maybe mental health as well. I'm not 100% sure, so it's not all of them gonna be Gothic, that's for sure. But with this selection of books, and reading horror or creepy things is not necessarily something that I enjoy to stay too long, and some can be really intense. So I brought back inside 4 that are more light, a bit less creepy. I've got Possessed by Gretchen McNeil, Death at Morning House by Maureen Johnson, Haunted House, Storm and Shade by Claudia Gray, and Ghostlight, Sonia Gensler. You can wonder, how am I gonna decide? Is it gonna be all of them? So, no, I don't think that it's gonna be all of them. I already reread The Silent Companions. I just finished it 2 days ago. I really needed to have something light. I knew that already, and when I saw the title, I was like, you know what? I think Haunted House, Storm and Shade by Claudia Gray may be a very good fit to make that happen. But let me tell you that I have prepared a wheel of names to make it way more interesting. My wheel of names, as you can see, so I have put all of the 4 books inside, and we're gonna see what the wheel of name is, or which book will be selected by the wheel of name. I will stick to it, but if Haunted Mansion, sorry, is not selected, I will do my best at include, because I really feel, like as a Claire audience, I feel like I need to go and to read it. But you know what? We're gonna click and we're gonna see what is gonna be the result. Book today. This is the beginning of The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. celluloid part of this cozy until it's not anymore cozy. This is going to be a reread, and it is a 5-star, so definitely a huge favorite of mine. I think that for this one, I am really going to do my best at not saying too much. I don't remember the beginning of the story. We are in an asylum or a hospital. No, we are in a hospital. We are introduced to Elsie. She's a patient, a widow. She doesn't speak. The nurses at the time, because it's probably late 19th century. We are learning. So the doctor is giving her. He wants to communicate. Let's make it. The doctor would like to communicate with her because he's the one who's going to determine if she's going to go to the gallows for the trial or not. And she's considering the help of that doctor at maybe trying to tell the truth, obviously her truth, but the truth of what happened, what she experienced that led her to that hospital. We understand that this has been a year that she is in the hospital and she doesn't remember what happened. There are a lot of scars on her arms from burning. She remembers other stuff. And when he finally managed to get her a pen and some paper, and he really invites her through the writing as if it were someone else telling her story, what happened. And through the writing, we are following the story of what happened. So it's super fairly recent that she lost her husband. He was in the countryside where she is going now. The property was never really used by the family, like forever. And it seems to be very far from everything, and especially in 1865. So there is really no or not much comfort around. We understand that she's pregnant, so a month pregnant. We learned that it's not a love marriage, like, and that time probably still many happened of business convenience. She had from her father, from her side of the family, a match factory. Her youngest brother, which is actually just the brother-in-law, was shocked that the husband left everything to her. This is her perception of what happened with her words, how she experienced it. And towards everyone else, how did they perceive the situation that we are going to learn? Because I just remember that it's getting tragicer and more drama and more into the creepiness. So I had to come back and intervene. It's always the same thing and how it was at the time anyway, since we are in 1868, that whatever good doctor who's apparently trying to help her, but more to decide if she is good to go to the gallows or not, he's trying to make her admit that she is just crazy. And the theory of before was that madness is running in blood, and especially in the female line, obviously, as if it's the only place where it can run, where it can exist. The way that her father died, um, uh, very tough. And her mother as well. And then she wasn't there for her husband's death. That's good for her. But they're probably going to find a way to put that on her. So far, they have found companions, the silent companions, in the what they are calling the garret. And they're putting it down in the entryway. But for however or whatever kind of form of mystery, they are moving places by themselves, because every time that Elsie is asking one of her maid if they have moved them to a different place, they all say that they are not touching them, because pretty much all of them are scared. They say that they can see that they felt being watched. They saw their eyes moving and observing them. Wow, I just finished The Silent Companion. I really didn't remember the ending. It went crazier and crazier with the presence of the companion. But it's very interesting because you have the mix of the magical aspect of things, like having wooden figures, painted figures moving by themselves. Obviously, it's very creepy. They are trashed down and they are burned down to ashes, and yet they're going to come back fully like nothing happened before. So you would really have the creepiness. Like pretty much everyone end up being dead except the victim. So Elsie is definitely the victim in all of this. And let me tell you that it's not really ending well for her, sadly. I'm not rooting for the villain of that story at all. And you really wish until the very last word that something, what kind of ever miracle can happen and save her life. It's flirting a lot into the paranormal, but with the demonic and the evil aspect of things, with the witchy side. Could it be possible that Elsie has a crazy imagination in order for her to face what happened with her parents' death, that she may be responsible for it because of their cruelty against her, and that she created all of that reality? You have at the same time a period of time in the past where so easily, no matter what's slightly different a woman could have spoke of or said something, she was crazy, she was mad, she was a witch, and everything was transformed. And you see that through the doctor, Dr. Shepherd, who has to make a case for her. He wants to believe more in her insanity more than at seeing her as a murderer. Depending on where you are yourself on the believing to the impossible side, you will go in one direction or the other. I definitely and I always believe that anything is possible. But when you are walking onto the spiritual path and the understanding, it's opening way more doors. And there is definitely an aspect of her guiltiness, the shame and the guilt of what happened with her parents and what she had to do to set herself free. So because of what happened, what she did before, it was kind of a punishment for her to experience that. Well, it depends of how do you want to see things, and if you feel that she's deserving or not. It's really going to be your perspective about the whole thing. But it's definitely a creepy story because the more that the companions are coming and that you see them all around and they are coming back and they are pushing everyone to madness, or and it's a very good reason to have created that story at a time period where with the madness of the religion, and they were believing so much at that time about evil and blah blah blah, so it was easy to point fingers obviously at all the women, but they are witchy and they are crazy and they are mad, and anyway, it's really about what do you believe. It's your position about that. For me, even if I change drastically so much into my life, I still feel that Elsie, as the victim, it wasn't deserving. No matter what happened in her childhood, and it was extremely difficult, it's not a reason why, because you could see that the companion and what happened, it was because she felt the guiltiness, and that's why she imagined, or it was chosen. No, no, but I definitely would recommend that book because it's still an excellent one, even if it's so unfair the ending. But I really want. So now the next book. I don't know exactly which one is gonna be. Last week here in the jungle, it was pretty intense with the energies for everyone. So I might go right away for something lighter into the creepiness. I'm gonna take you along and see which book will be the next on the list. Hello everyone, I am back for the next book, Possess. Yeah, it was from the Wheel of Names of the titles of the book of something lighter to read. I just could never find the time to update you along the reading, so it's just I'm going to do the whole book at once now that it's finished. And I can say that it is a standalone, I'm guessing, but it can definitely be open for a series. It's funny because I said that Possess was supposed to be a lighter read after Laura Purcell's horror Gothic stories. And, well, it was not a lighter read. Maybe just by the name of Possess, I should have, thought more that maybe this is something about demons and being possessed. We're following Bridget. Um, 16 or 14, I don't remember. So a teenager. She lost her father a bit less of a year ago. She lives in San Francisco with her mother and younger brother. And he was the father psychiatrist. It matters for me to say that. We have a bit of aspect of her at school of being the weirdo and having two gay friends, and she doesn't have an easy time. Well, obviously, the death of her father doesn't help, but this isn't the main story because when we are starting, we are going straight away into the fact that first she's in a Catholic school. I like the name, the word that they or she especially chose instead of saying to exorcise someone, to banish the demons. I don't think that they ever use really entities. They really use the word of demons all the time. She has a new gift that started when her father died, and it's to hear and to see demons. So the Monsignore from her school has taught her how to use that gift, and he's asking her now to help him with some specific banishment. Obviously, she has to deal with a lot of her own teenager emotions of what is happening in her life with the possible love hate relationship with Matt. So, beyond all of this, it's really following her at this moment where she's doing a few banishments. She can see and hear more the demons, and the demons is mixed up with her because she can feel way more that she's apparently supposed to do or to feel. And most of all, it's because it gives her a kick and she loves it. So she wonder, is it possible that she is a demon herself or not? So you have a bit of that surrounding into the whole thing. So she has to dig up a little bit to understand more her place, her new, not her new role, but how to use her gift in her life, in what the Catholic Church is asking her, but most the Monsignor. And there's a new one, a new guy, Father Santos, who came from the Vatican. Um, so she doesn't know if she can trust him. How far is he spying on Monsignor and her? So there's a lot of questioning. Plus, there is something that will happen pretty much at the beginning that may be a questioning on the man who murdered her father, who may or may not be possessed himself. So he may or may not be innocent at the end of the day. For the creepy side, well, yes, it was creepy, especially when you are in the middle of the jungle. And I already told you that the jungle is never silent, it always sounds. But I think it wasn't as much as what Laura Purcell can create as a creepiness level. So in that way, it was lighter. So it did deliver. But it's just that personally, anything religion, anything demons, angels, I am not into that, but I still kept reading to go beyond it. It is not the copy paste from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but it is not. Obviously, there is no vampire. Um, but the whole teenager has a new gift, and there is around her someone who is very knowledgeable, but with books doesn't really have much of experience um, on the ground to fight or really to help her, but he's representing sort of her teacher, father, not father, but more teacher figure. And that it's gonna happen that she's gonna have, okay, so that's gonna be a spoiler, but it's not a big one, that the Matt, the guy that she hates, well, they're gonna end up together, and he's gonna be, I'm gonna get it right, he's gonna be the one that's gonna know the whole truth about her gift and what is happening. So it's the first one in her surrounding that knows the truth and sticks around. So you can see that at some level her friends will be aware, or that she will tell them, or something will happen, and then the circle will get more open. Her mother doesn't know, her brother doesn't know either, but he might eventually at some point, or remember something. I was reading and I always heard in my head, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because it was so close that it reminded me. Not that it's inspired. The only inspiration from Buffy is like, okay, it's another story with a teenager in California facing demons and angels and not really being aware and seeking advice from a knowledgeable guy, from knowledgeable from books, and that she has to learn to expand her gift and to be better. And it's the same pattern. I really love Gretchen McNeil, but because it's not a topic that I enjoy, just because it's really not an enjoyable thing, because it was really like too tight into Buffy, the way that it was built up. Maybe because I felt that it was maybe too much teenagery, new word. And I am not obviously a teenager anymore, but I've never had any issue at reading anything teenager for young adults and still being gripped by the story or fascinating. I'm just not. Not that it was anything unpleasant to read. I was just simply curious to see where is it gonna go, how close from the whole of Buffy it is gonna be. And I have to say, I almost forgot to say, because it's a big one, there was no surprise about who is behind all of this, the manipulation, the why. It's a classic why. There is nothing new or surprising in all this. The fact that the boyfriend is becoming the boyfriend, and that there was really nothing, or even, the expecting the suspicious one not to be suspicious at all. That one either, I've never thought that he was, because I don't know, in my head it was pretty much quickly. I said, well, that's the only one, the other one. Since we were right away into the possessed, the demons thing, so it was like, yeah, okay, so 99.99% chance that the guy was just possessed, so it's not a classical case of really killing someone else. I would say that if this is something that you really do enjoy and this is your thing, go for it, because Gretchen McNeil is a great author. That story didn't do much for me. I would say that I should give the 3 stars, but I think that the rating should reflect my pleasure that I had out of it, the enjoyment, and it was just fairly, kind of okay. And kind of okay for me doesn't reflect the 3 stars. So I think I can give it like a as 2.75, 2.8. You know what? I'm happy that I went through it because it's been a while that the book is in my library and it's done, it's read. And now I can go to the next one. So far, it hasn't really been anything cozy that I've read, but creepy, yeah,
Hello,
definitely.
friends. I am back for another review. Boy, that I was surprised with the corset from Laura Purcell. It's tough to say that if it's a good surprise or I wish it would have been a good surprise. I think it's over 100 pages. So it was long to go. It could have helped to know that the majority of the story is a heavy description of mental torture, of physical torture, where you are following not just the women, but mostly the kids, the little kids, who were doing the sewing for all of those wealthy women with all of the gowns, that it was completely enslavement, that it was 12 years old or sometimes even less, that they were sold by their parents to some of those big store, and they were kind of locked up in the attic to sew like pretty much 20 hours a day. They just had a slice of bread and a bit of water, and it was terrible condition. But in this story, they are experiencing, and especially the main character that we are following and who is telling the story, Ruth Brotherham. The only thing that I really loved, that it was kind of funny, but it was really light, was the name of all of the different characters, the last names. That main character, we are following her at the beginning. She is in a prison for women, and that she gonna be on trial for killing her mistress to whom she was working for. We don't know exactly how the killing happened or what really happened. So we are following one chapter her. She's telling her story to Dorothea. She decided to go to this women prison to be part of the board and to, with her money, to inject some money so they have better conditions for the women. But for her, her interest into all of this, Dorothea, is because she's doing the study of phrenology, that she's studying the skull of people, and especially women who are supposed to be murderer, and to measure the size, to find at specific places some bumps or some lines that will explain that they do not have any conscience, or that the way that they are acting or not acting, or their behavior, it's supposed to be explained by the shape of the skull. And she wants to prove by studying them, those women. So she's not there to talk to them, to help them. Really, she's more using them to feed her own study topic. When the story begins, she really stays with Ruth Brotherham. She's 16 years old when she ended up in the prison, and we have the story. But when she started to count her story, it started at 12 years old. She wants to prove if the murderer expressed some remorse, if they are suddenly becoming devoured to God, that they are seeking forgiveness, that specific shape of the skull will change, and it would have been the proof that people can change, but not just people, just the guilty one. She has a specific way of seeing things and of understanding life. Obviously, it is very much guided by her own education, the way that she has been prepared for life, just to be a wife, just to have some kids, just to be by the side of a husband, a wealthy one, not expressing her opinion, not having any opinion. She really wants those women to admit that they are guilty. Then they will be able to found salvation from God when they will die. She's not even interested at trying to prove their innocence, of figure out, did they really do what they're accused of, and to help them in that way. No, she immediately believed that they are guilty, and she's only interested for them to seek salvation into God. So in that way, she is very narrow-minded, that she's missing a lot. So the fact that she has all of this money and that she's using it that way, it doesn't make her father happy about the situation. She's going to turn out 25 years old, and at that time, not being married is like, it's almost a scandal. Some drama happening into her life, into her surrounding, around her father especially, not about the marriage, but deeper, related to her mother's death. All of that cruelty that was inflicted to those kids and to that main character, Ruth. I didn't expect it that. You have towards the end a tiny sort of a mystery with the death of who had done it. Everyone wants to make the thing pointing at her, but it's just, she's an easy target. That's what it is. And because she doesn't have the education, when she has some dark emotion, her feelings are anger or sadness, and that she's suing, somehow is able to put those feelings into what she's suing, it will act against that woman, and whatever the emotion were inside, she will experience it. You really wonder, with everything that is happening, is it really something kind of a mystical that she is capable of creating? Or is it just in her imagination, her way of explaining things, because she doesn't have the understanding of life? She doesn't have a more wider education to explain what she cannot comprehend herself. Ruth has started to believe that she has some special ability to create some dark magic. She believes that, and everything bad or tragic that had happened around her to others from what she had seen, she was convinced that she was the one inflicting it. But everything was explained, but you have to go through all of it. And when you go to the ending, when I told you that you have sort of a mystery death and who had done it and the why, you see the direction that they are taking. So there wasn't really much any surprise for me, or like a big one like, oh, I didn't see that coming. That you have at the very end, again, the very few last lines, you can help yourself at wondering if there was indeed some dark magical aspects into her work. You're lucky that I'm not giving any spoiler there, but you really can't. You're like, hold on, so what? But it's not a big one. What Laura Purcell had tried to do with the character of Dorothea, who is very grounded, but like too low into having an open mind into possibilities, that she is rejecting anything like it cannot be explained. It's obviously because it's coming from the imagination, and it's coming from the imagination because the murderers, because obviously for her they all are guilty, that rather create into their mind a story to explain mystically what happened, instead of taking responsibility for their actions. My take was there must have been a mix of things. So once again, because I didn't expect to go that dark. And for the majority of the book, it's not like just one or two times. And no, for bringing that historical past and understanding of life, of how it was for that time, to have those two worlds colliding between Dorothea and Ruth, it was obviously purposefully made by the author to have such a position of characters, a way of being and understanding things. And pretty much how is it going to end up for her, because there is no other possibility of ending for her. I think it has to stay of 4.7 or 4.75. I cannot give a 5 because for me it wasn't as with the silent companion, like, what? No, it's not fair. It wasn't the same reaction. So it's fair and logical that I'm going to give a rating based on my own experience as well. Cozy until it's not. There wasn't anything cozy in the story. There wasn't really anything creepy. When you go through all of the mental torture and physical torture, I finished Haunted Mansion by Claudia Gray. You remember that it was picked up by the Wheel of Title of Names, probably because of the cover that you see on the cover, and you're going to see that the young girl, well, she doesn't look like 16 years old. I don't know. She looks like, 12, 13, 14. I'm not good at placing ages. The whole time that I was reading the story, I couldn't picture the character. The main character is named Audrey. I couldn't picture her any different than 12 to 14 years old, not 16, not having a boyfriend at all. I don't know why it's resonated so wrong in my head just because of that picture. Nonetheless, the story is happening in New Orleans. Audrey, that we are following, she just has been transferred into a new school for girls, but with uniforms. And I mean, you can understand that wearing uniforms, whatever the uniform's colors or pattern, whatever, it's not really an excitement, but definitely not for her. She's a lot entangled into heavy anxiety. She's anxious about everything. So I'm really reusing the words of highly anxious. She is being followed by a psychiatrist to talk about that, to help her a bit more. So she's scared about everything, about doing anything, about going anywhere. The boyfriend that she has, he stayed in the previous school. He takes a decision where they are going, what they are doing, and he's always saying, and she is rephrasing him as well, that she is safe with him. She can only be safe if he's around or if she's with her. And he's the only one who can understand her. So he's really like wrapping her into his power, kind of make her believe that she cannot do anything outside of him, that she is lost, like that she's useless without him. There is a haunted mansion. Obviously, she doesn't know that it's haunted right away, but she's gonna see that huge mansion. She has a pole going to it and getting inside. The whole place is, because it's haunted, it's still very much furnished. And every time that she's getting inside the mansion, the rooms are changing. Like, it's not in the same order. It's like as if the house is decided where the library is, where the kitchen is, and then it's changing the blueprints. It never stays the same. When she get there, she has an experience that she doesn't think much about it, like a paranormal one, but she's been possessed. And that's why for me in my head, it was so difficult every time that something like that happened, because I really don't know why I couldn't see her any different than 12 to 14 years old, but everything that she was doing was like for an 18 or older years old. So I was like, huh? So beyond all of this, the first day at school, at this new school, she's gonna meet two I think two other new girls as well, Tadum and Iris. And they both have some particularities that they are finding each other. Audrey has always has been a hard time at making friends with others because of her anxiety. She's not understood by the others and critics or judge, and so she doesn't have any friends outside of her boyfriend. That really doesn't count. So obviously there is a lot of possession. Obviously there is a lot of ghosts. Obviously there is some dark force entity, sort of a Ghostbusters vibe inspiration that wants to take over New Orleans and the world and to suck up all of the energy and to control everything, and that they need a fresh human body to incarnate and in order to do more. It's always this kind of things. And it's always finding a way to defeat that darkness. This is roughly the story behind it. It's really way more than that when you really keep reading. And that's why I was so much insistent on the word of anxiety that she was using to describe her character, Audrey. Because for me, it didn't feel comfortable at using anxiety. She's just have such a lack of self-esteem, of self-love, that she put that into anxiety, but doesn't trust herself, her value, her knowledge, her ability, her love. She doubt everything of who she is and what she's capable of. And in that way, she's completely dependent on her boyfriend or on others. So if it wouldn't have been because of the paranormal experience that she had, and that the two other girls, the new one that she met at school, that they were interested about that topic as well, that the beginning of the friendship started to happen, and that she started to see that no, actually they are interested about what she has to say, and they believe her. And guess what? They even want to help her save her life or face danger, and they don't even know her more than that. Facing the relationship that she has with her boyfriend, about starting to opening her eyes onto the fact that he enjoys having the control of the power, and not so much when she starts to regain or to learn to have control and power to empower herself. So I would say it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story about through friendship, about friendship, through friendship, about finding yourself, finding your voice and your force and your empowerment, and that you can do so much more with others, about acceptance, and obviously about paranormal with everything that can happen in that mansion. It was a very interesting and funny ride, even if it's, like I said, it's you can feel the Ghostbusters vibe through the story and the description and what is happening, but in the good way. It was very nice. So for my rating about that, I would put more like a 3 stars. I really love the writing of Claudia Gray. Sometimes it was a lot of details. There wasn't anything into the writing or the twist or whatever compared to the Firebird series. That is a 5-star favorite of mine. It was a nice, sweet change compared to the Corset that I have. So it's time to go to the last book for the series.
Of the TBR, Cozy Until It's Not. I decided to go with Morning House. No, there's something else, Morning House by Maureen Johnson. It's considered as a novella because it's under the 300 pages. I think it's 260, 250, something like this. Anyway, I was hoping for something creepy and haunted. Not really. The Morning House is the name of the property. We are in the Thousand Islands. So it's area between the United States and Canada. I think it's closer from Ontario. We have two different timelines. We have the first one, the nowadays, following Marlowe. I think she's 16 years old again, so young adult, I should say young adult, but I think usually Maureen Johnson is writing young adult. We are following her on one side nowadays, and we are in a different timeline in the past in 1932. One particular summer, the one from 1932, at the Morning House. And we are following the Ralston family. Obviously, we have the couple, and they have 6 kids. 6 of 5 are adopted. There's a mystery with that. And one is naturally born from both parents. Let's just put it that way. The father is a scientist, and he's studying in eugenics. It's a big mansion. It's kind of has been abandoned. It just has been bought by a group and investors, and they have agreed for one summer, that particular summer of the story, to be open to visits for the tourists. So the city can make some revenue, some money out of it before they are transforming it for private retreats. We know right away at the beginning that there has been 2 deaths that particular summer, the 1932. There is an aspect of mystery surrounding how those 2 kids died, and it's abandoned. So you obviously it's a possible haunted place, creepy, and we are following or unraveling the story on the nowadays timeline, and on the past, well, the past, we are quickly going into the depths. But until the point that we are reaching in nowadays, 2 other deaths and the mystery surrounding those deaths. So it's really more murder mystery. Why Marlowe? Why that kid? Why Maureen Johnson created that character? She is part of the LGBTQ community, and it's the first summer that she is, yeah, kind of openly, but she's trying, and she's going on her first date with another kid, Akila. She's very much fondly in love with her, and they are both. But during their first date, she really by accident gonna put fire into the place that she is supposed to keep an eye on for friends of the family. So that's really not helping the first date. She's gonna closed off completely. Not because of that event, but she has, like all of the teenagers, a lot of doubt of herself, but lack of self-confidence, self-esteem. She's gonna end up with the opportunity to join, because it's already on, to go to that mention, the Morning House, and to join the team of other teenagers who are doing tours, who are living there. They were pretty much living by themselves, and the only adults living as well there is another scientist, another researcher, Dr. Henson. She's from there, so she's local, and she's doing a paper research on the murders in 1932, trying to explain and what happened. And since the first time that the public, so any other scientist, have access to the house, it's priceless. There's going to be, obviously, from the author Maureen Johnson, a very good reason why that accident of fire happened and why it is brought to the rest of the story in that mention. Obviously, there's a good reason for this. The teenagers known each other like forever. She's going to learn when she will arrive there, Marlowe, that there was another one before, a guy, Chris, who died a few months ago, apparently by accident. She can feel and sense that the dynamic between all of those kids is not the same, and there is something hidden surrounding the death of that kid. It was interesting to see on one side the 1932, what happened, how this family was living, seeing that a good number of the kids wasn't following the ideology of the father, was very strict on their diets. The small one, Max, died first, and a few hours later, the oldest one died as well. Pretty much, you kind of have an idea of why, sadly, weirdly enough, why Max, the youngest one, has been killed, because it's obviously not a natural death. And the second one, you don't buy that it's out of remorse. She has been helped to kill herself. Let's just place it that way. So you are unraveling those two sides of the story that are gonna mix together at the end when the Dr. Henson is gonna be missing. Remember that I mentioned two deaths as well on this nowadays timeline. And it's gonna be Marlo who's gonna be, because she's an outsider, so she has a better perspective on the situation, and she's not evolved emotionally with the story of what happened on the nowadays timeline. I really like that, how she's building those mysterious stories about what might happen. You're never gonna have, or anyway, for me, it never makes big twists or big, like, there are a few stuff that obviously you don't really see or completely see coming, but they are not a shocking reveal. I don't know, maybe it's me, but I would have picked up a different guilty one at the end in the nowadays timeline. Make it more spicy, I would say, into the story than the one that Maureen Johnson has picked up. Obviously, it's personal choice. I would say overall, I liked Death at the Morning House. It's always a fast-paced reading with Maureen Johnson because of the way that she's writing, the way that she's unraveling the story. For the rating, I would say that it's a 3.5. 4 would be too much. 3, not enough. Kind of makes sense, making 3.5.
Okay. So cozy until it's not, the TBR. Just a quick recap. I read 5 books, 5 different ones. The attempt was to read something that was cozy, and you feel, that you're going into the territory of creepy, of scary, maybe. And I can say that there was only one book, one and a half, but one book definitely who did that. And it's probably the reason why I picked up that book at the first place. And it was a reread, was A Silent Companion from Laura Purcell. That one is really the definition of cozy. I'm not even sure, but creepy, definitely, until it's not. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. Everything else after that, all the other books, well, you never know really how it's going to be written in the story, but it's never really fulfilled, the cozy until creepy. No, there wasn't any. I read 5 new books, I think, 6 new books. So it's a good chunk out of my library that it's done. If there is any of these books that can become part of your bedside table, I'm happy about that. If you read, please leave a comment down below and see you next time for the next TBR video that it's coming super fast.